Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Radix Report. We are finishing up our coverage of the Credit Suisse implosion. I will include linked in the video description the prior videos I did on Credit Suisse. The first video I did about 7 months ago. It was just titled The Implosion of Credit Suisse, where we went over some of the most recent scandals that have been plaguing Credit Suisse and predicted that the bank was going to eventually collapse. I think anyone could have made that prediction based on the information that was publicly available for all of us to see. And so now we're in the situation where Credit Suisse basically has collapsed and they're essentially being bailed out. The problem, though, is that once you have lost confidence with the consumer and your customer, at that point, it's already too late. No one is going to trust Credit Suisse anymore. So all of the stuff that they have is going to end up being toxic. So, okay, a couple things we're going to cover, and let's start with this ironic video.
You know, your shoes cost more than you get.
This is a video from Sharon Stone at a recent charity event, and she is basically trying to encourage people to make donations. And she brings up the current economic situation and says, "Oh, I've lost a lot of money, blah blah blah. Feel bad for me." But what I want you to understand is you're going to be the one paying for it, and she represents the kind of person that is being bailed out. Okay, let's play it.
You know, your shoes cost more than you gave. And you know it. The next thing you want to do costs more than you gave. And you know it. And I'm telling you what, my friends are worth more than you gave.
And just keep in mind, when she does the crocodile tears and brings up the waterworks, she's an actress, okay?
And you know it.
Like, I'm sorry if I'm not buying her indignation. Maybe I'm a little cynical.
The people that stood up tonight right there, they're worth more than you gave, and you know it. The ones that stood up that lost people that they love, they're worth more than you gave, and you know it. And I am standing here because I expect you to show it. And I mean it, and I know that thing that you have to get on and figure out and text the money is difficult. I'm a technical idiot.
Listen to them all laughing, too. Does it sound like they're really concerned about the potential impending global financial crisis? I don't think so. It doesn't sound like they're very concerned to me at all. It actually sounds like a group of people laughing because they know they'll be the ones getting bailed out at the expense of everybody else.
But I can write a fucking check.
And listen to them whoop and cheer and clap for her. Oh, she's so stunning and brave.
And right now, that's courage too.
Oh, so courageous.
I know what's happening. I just lost half my money to this banking thing. And that doesn't mean that I'm not here.
Oh, like, you hear them laughing about it too, because they know, again, that they are the class of people that will always get bailed out. So they think this is very funny. This is amusing to them.
My brother just died, and that doesn't mean that I'm not here. This is not an easy time for any of us. This is a hard time in the world. But I'm telling you what, I'm not having some politician tell me what I can and cannot do. And what the value of my life is and is not. So stand up. Stand up and say what you're worth. I dare you. That's what courage is.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's what grandstanding is, but let's go to the Swiss government.
The bankruptcy of a global systematically important bank.
And they want everyone to know Credit Suisse is a globally systemically important bank, whatever. It's very important that we bail out this bank, despite the fact that they were just involved in scandal after scandal after scandal, including things like money laundering for Bulgarian cocaine traffickers.
Would have caused irreparable economic turmoil in Switzerland and throughout the world. For this reason, Switzerland had to take the responsibilities beyond its own borders. These efforts have paid off. The Federal Council is convinced that UBS takeover of Credit Suisse has laid the foundations for greater stability both in Switzerland and internationally.
What stability? Okay, so let's play this again. I apologize if there was any echo there.
Bankruptcy of a global systematically important bank would have caused irreparable economic turmoil in Switzerland and throughout the world. For this reason, Switzerland had to take the responsibilities beyond its own borders.
Beyond its own borders, eh? Really?
These efforts have paid off. The Federal Council is convinced that UBS takeover of Credit Suisse has laid the foundations for greater stability both in Switzerland and internationally.
What makes you think that? Really? What makes you think that? I think it's funny when they say stuff like this because they think you're stupid and they want you to believe if they just, dump some money onto it, everything's going to be fine. And the problems in the banking system, the problems in the entire financial system will just go away. Obviously, they have not learned their lesson. I always love this meme every time I see it. You can add any kind of text over it, and it's pretty funny, And then we told them no losses will be borne by the taxpayer. Oh, yes, we don't call it a bailout anymore. Now we say we're stepping in to help them shore up liquidity. Oh, it's insurance. It's the FDIC. No one will be paying for this. This isn't a bailout. Yes, it is a bailout. That's your money. The banks don't pay into the FDIC. They use your money to pay into it. So you pay into it. And then, of course, they're going to raise their costs and they're going to just pass that cost off to you. So essentially, it is a bailout. They've just gotten smarter at hiding it. They just gotten a little bit more clever. That's all. But make no mistake, it is, of course, a bailout. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into a couple things here. I just want to show you this graphic. I always find data visualization helpful because when you're dealing with massive amounts of information or big timelines with a lot of information, it helps to be able to see everything broken down this way. I think you can get a greater understanding of, first of all, the 2008 financial crisis represented here. So what we're looking at in this graphic is bank failures from 2001 up until 2023. Now, they have not included Credit Suisse on there. They should. It basically failed and had to be bailed out by UBS, which of course, is getting help from the taxpayer essentially. But go ahead and look at prior to the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, the biggest bank failure was Washington Mutual in, I believe it was 2008, during the 2008 financial crisis. But look at all the banks that failed during that time. So they're all represented by circles here on the graph. That shows you just how crazy and just how massive this problem is. And I think the Peruvian bull has a very good point. Size of bank failure since 2001. Are we just getting started? I believe that is the case. Now, of course, this video in particular is talking about Credit Suisse. But just generally speaking, the big banks right now are the ones benefiting from everything that is happening as people rush into the big banks for fear that these regional banks are not doing well. So these smaller community banks are going to be going out of business, and that's not good. These big banks, banks like JP Morgan, etc. These are the banks, Bank of America, they are the ones that will debank you. They'll deplatform you if you say something that the elites don't like. So I think that's a major, major problem. What if they're the only banks left, and if you are a business person and you have to conduct business, you might have to use these banks. So I thought this was interesting for all of the various reasons that have led to this lethal juncture. Central banks are now doing the exact opposite of what they did in 2008. They are tightening into a burgeoning credit crisis, which means we've entered the most lethal financial crisis since 1930. That is not good. And you can see Credit Suisse right here. Yikes, FTX, remember that? Yeah, look at everything that's gone on. It's not looking good, friends. All right, so breaking, UBS has agreed to buy Credit Suisse for more than $2 billion. According to the Financial Times, Credit Suisse was a $7 billion company on Friday. So they had made a first offer of, I think, $1 billion. Credit Suisse said no. Then the Swiss National Bank and the Swiss government were talking about, well, if we can't get an agreement on a deal here, we might have to nationalize part of the bank. And then it looked like they came up with a deal. So UBS buys Credit Suisse. Shareholders don't get a vote. UBS gets a $100 billion credit line from the central bank. Crazy times this week. Band-aids flying everywhere to keep the system from falling apart. But it is not going to keep everything from falling apart. It's just like trying to plug holes in a sinking boat. And there's so many of them. Each time you plug one hole, another one comes in. Okay, so this is also very interesting. March of 2008, Bear Stearns is trading for $100 per share. Days later, it is bought for $2 a share. March of 2023, Credit Suisse is trading for $3 a share. Days later, it is bought for 54 cents a share. History doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. I thought that was interesting. Now, here is the article from the Financial Times. UBS agrees to buy Credit Suisse for more than $2 billion. Swiss authorities engineer a deal that will combine the country's two largest banks, as predicted, by this channel and many other people. Lots of folks saw this coming. It wasn't really a surprise. UBS has agreed to buy Credit Suisse after increasing its offer to more than $2 billion, with Swiss authorities poised to change the country's laws to bypass a shareholder vote as they rush to announce the deal before Monday. So that is crazy. They're changing the laws of the country just to get this deal through without allowing the shareholders to hold a vote on it, because they know what would happen. The shareholders, of course, on both banks would say no. Why would UBS want to acquire a toxic entity? So you're going to take a healthy financial institution and then dilute it with a failing one. Doesn't sound good to me. Does it sound good to you? The all-share deal between Switzerland's two biggest banks is set to be announced as soon as Sunday evening and will be priced at a fraction of Credit Suisse's closing price on Friday, all but wiping out the target's shareholders. Three people with direct knowledge of the situation said. UBS will now pay 50 cents a share in its own stock, up of a bid from 0.25 earlier today, with around $1 billion that was rejected by the Credit Suisse board, people said. And they're saying, well, now, you just have to accept it. The Swiss National Bank has agreed to offer $100 billion liquidity line to UBS as part of the deal. So again, who's really paying for this? UBS has also agreed to a softening of its adverse change clause that would void the deal if the credit default spreads jump. They added, they wanted that in there for a reason. The material adverse change clause applies for the period between the signing and closing of the deal. There's been limited contact between the two lenders, and the terms have been basically created and crafted by the Swiss National Bank, financial regulator FINMA, and the U.S. Federal Reserve, has agreed to the deal. They've looked it over. They were in consultation this entire time to help get this deal done. That's how big of a deal it is, and that's how important it is, which I think reflects the overall fragility of the banking system right now, the global banking system. Okay, so some people have criticized this, that they're circumventing normal governance rules by preventing a UBS shareholder vote. Yes, they are, but that shows you that they think it has to be done. Quote, I can't believe our members and UBS shareholders will be happy about this. I have never seen such measures taken. It shows how bad the situation is, unquote. I think that is absolutely correct. Both sides have been locked in discussions with regulators since Wednesday, when Credit Suisse asked the Swiss National Bank to provide it with an emergency line of credit. They were asking for billions of dollars. When this backstop failed to arrest a fall in its share price and stop panic clients withdrawing their money, the central bank stepped in to force a merger after becoming concerned about the viability of the country's second largest lender. So that is a big, big deal. They forced this deal. So you think you're a private company and you're allowed to do what you want? No, you're not. The government can literally force you to buy a failing, toxic entity. That's insane to me, but it is what it is. Despite outflows from Credit Suisse, deposit outflows from Credit Suisse topped a $10 billion a day late last week. Yeah, as people are rushing to get their money out of there. On Saturday night, the Swiss cabinet assembled in the finance ministry and burned for a series of presentations from government officials, Swiss National Bank, FINMA, and representatives of the banking sector. The government is preparing emergency measures to fast-track the takeover. They plan to introduce legislation that will bypass the normal 6-week consultation period required for shareholders so that a deal can be sealed immediately. The framework of the deal has been designed by Swiss regulators to provide maximum stability to the country's banking system because, guys, the situation is so bad that the entire banking system could collapse because of this. So that's what they're trying to work on. People briefed about the matter said Swiss authorities have already secured pre-approval from relevant regulators in the United States and Europe, which are expected to issue coordinated statements today. So they're all working together, trying to plug the holes. UBS will dramatically shrink Credit Suisse's investment bank, so the combined entity will make up no more than a third of the merged group, two of the people said. Negotiators have given Credit Suisse the codename Cedar and UBS Almus. That's lovely. As part of the deal, the Financial Times earlier reported UBS was seeking concessions and protections from the government. Particularly, so UBS is saying, hey, you're going to force us to buy this toxic bank, then you better give us immunity from any pending legal cases and regulatory investigations into Credit Suisse that could result in fines or losses, because they know that they're being investigated for several different scandals right now. It is unlikely it will get indemnity from any losses on assets. UBS also wants to be allowed to phase in any extra demands it would face under global rules on capital that govern the world's largest banks. Okay, so that is crazy. Here's a flashback. You could not make this up if you wanted to, guys. Credit Suisse passed a stress test 9 months ago. I guess those stress tests were just all part of the show. Exactly. Anytime, this is another thing to keep in mind. When you see stuff like this, these stress tests, oh, we're showing strong. Yes, banks ace the US Fed stress test. European banks are doing great. And they are literally using Credit Suisse in the picture here in this Reuters article. Now, you have to remember that these mainstream media, that report on finance, right? Reuters, CNBC, Market Watch, whatever. They all get paid by big financial firms, companies, to present a narrative that those people want regular people to hear. They don't want you to know what's really going on. I can assure you that. Mario says, breaking, it's official. UBS has announced the takeover of Credit Suisse with the support of the Swiss government. Some highlights: both banks will have unrestricted access to SNB facilities. Both banks can obtain liquidity assistance loans of up to $100 billion. Backed by the Federal Default Guarantee, FINMA. There was a risk of Credit Suisse becoming illiquid. No SHIT. People have only been saying that for, months. Swiss President Burr said it's not possible to restore confidence in Credit Suisse. And that's what I said. Once an institution has lost trust with customers, they're going to just take their money out and they're never going to come back. Even if you try to put together some deal like this, that's not going to convince them all of a sudden that everything's going to be fine now. Swiss government grants UBS $9.79 billion guarantee on Credit Suisse losses. UBS credit default swaps have doubled since news broke that it would rescue Credit Suisse. Wow, not good. Swiss National Bank Chairman Jordan, U.S. banking crisis aggravated Credit Suisse's crisis. Well, the Credit Suisse crisis, let's be fair, guys, it's been brewing for a long time, and that is not the fault of the U.S. banking system. Swiss president deposit outflows Friday showed that stabilization of Credit Suisse was necessary, but this is... You think it's stabilized? Come on, guys. Let's be real. Credit Suisse holders will get one UBS share for every 22.48 shares. Oh my gosh, that's insane. That's crazy. I thought this meme was funny. Here's the Credit Suisse shareholders. Every $1 for UBS for every 22.48 of Credit Suisse. Real nice. Credit Suisse shareholders looking at those UBS shares. Oh no. Yeah, that's kind of funny. And then to end it out, the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen the felon, and the Federal Reserve Board that is not federal and has no reserves have their own statement on the UBS takeover of Credit Suisse. They say, we welcome the announcements by the Swiss authorities today to support financial stability. Oh my gosh, the audacity. The capital and liquidity positions of the U.S. Nope, I can't do it without laughing. The capital and liquidity positions of the U.S. banking system are strong, and the U.S. financial system is resilient. We have been in close contact with our international counterparts to support their implementation. My goodness, you gotta love it, guys. I mean, it is what it is. It's pretty funny every time they do this, but that wraps up the series here where we've been talking about the implosion of Credit Suisse. I don't think that there's going to be many more updates to this. I mean, what we could do is follow the contagion into UBS, and I'll keep everybody posted on that. But yeah, in just 7 months. So part one, the first video we did on Credit Suisse 7 months ago, and now we have seen that realized in just several months. That shows you how fast and how quickly and how dramatically things can change. So make sure that you keep yourself and your family prepared. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good day. Whee!